Canada hasn't openly threatened America. No soldiers, no major warnings, no closed borders. Instead, the government quietly passed new laws. But only a few weeks later, some of the most well-known U.S. states are coming under enormous pressure. Tourists are staying away, goods are being stopped at the border, factories are cutting shifts, and farmers are losing vital markets. What started as an ordinary political dispute is now hitting millions of families directly. Seniors have to choose between medication and electricity. Workers are losing jobs and health insurance. Farmers are selling machinery and land that has belonged to their families for generations. But the most dangerous truth is this: Canada didn't cause this crisis alone. The deepest cracks formed within America itself a long time ago. Which 5 states are now on the verge of collapse? And why could their downfall shake the entire country? Stay with us until the end, because number 1 shows just how quickly security can turn into fear. Florida for decades, Florida was seen as America's retirement paradise. Sun, beaches, and every winter thousands of Canadians who rented condos here, filled restaurants, and kept entire coastal towns alive. But that very image of security is now starting to crumble. According to initial reports, bookings from Canada dropped by about 25% following the new Canadian travel and media laws. The snowbirds are staying away, vacation rentals are sitting empty, and coastal restaurants are cutting back their hours. For many families, this doesn't just mean a drop in income. It means their entire livelihood is disappearing. At the same time, Florida is being hit even harder from within its own country. Millions of residents rely on Medicaid, including seniors, veterans, and people with disabilities. Due to new cuts, hospitals are at risk of becoming overcrowded, while some facilities are already reducing beds and essential screenings. Imagine you've worked your whole life and wanted to spend your retirement by the sea. But suddenly, electricity costs and insurance premiums are skyrocketing. Your doctor is no longer reachable, and the apartment that was supposed to bring you extra income stays empty for months. Even in sunny Florida, of all places, people are now forced to choose between medication, groceries, and bills. And if even this famous paradise loses its security, which state can still feel safe? 2. New York. New York was once the place where everyone believed they could achieve anything with talent and hard work. But now even the city that never sleeps is starting to lose its spark. Canada's new digital services tax didn't just hit major platforms like Google, Meta, and Amazon. Small tech companies, media agencies, and startups in Manhattan felt the uncertainty immediately. Investors pulled back, projects were postponed, and offices that were once full of developers and entrepreneurs are suddenly empty. The middle class is being hit particularly hard. People who had well-paying jobs just a few months ago are now working only part-time. At the same time, rent, insurance, taxes, and groceries remain extremely expensive. When people lose their jobs, they often lose their health insurance too. Even a minor illness can then financially ruin a family. As a result, more and more residents are leaving the city. Not because they've given up on their dream, but because they can no longer afford New York. Families are selling their apartments, professionals are moving to more affordable regions, and even successful entrepreneurs are wondering if their future might actually be in Canada. The skyscrapers are still lit up, the subway keeps running, and the cafes open every morning. But behind this glittering facade, something much more important is disappearing. The belief that New York is still a place for upward mobility and security. If even the most successful people are starting to flee, what's left of the American dream? 3. Texas is considered the energy hub of America. Oil, gas, wind power, and massive industrial plants made the state a symbol of strength and independence. But today, families here of all places are sitting in sweltering houses, wondering if they should buy their medicine or turn on the air conditioning. After Canada tightened its controls on energy exports, several gas projects stalled. Investments were frozen, contracts were delayed, and thousands of workers in the oil regions lost their jobs in a short amount of time. Men who believed for decades they would never be unemployed in Texas are suddenly standing in line at unemployment offices. But the job losses are only the beginning. As temperatures rise to dangerous levels, power bills are exploding. Some households are receiving bills for several $100s. Families are cooking less, turning off appliances, and spending their evenings in dark, stuffy rooms just to avoid falling deeper into debt. Meanwhile, data centers and large energy corporations continue to use enormous amounts of electricity and report high profits. However, the burden is being carried by seniors, workers, and single parents. Texas produces more energy than almost any other state, yet more and more of its residents can no longer afford it. When the lights go out, even in the heart of the American energy industry, it's not just a crisis, it's a warning of how quickly economic strength can become meaningless for ordinary people. For Michigan. For decades, Michigan was the industrial heart of America. In Detroit, Flint, and Grand Rapids, the factories started humming before sunrise. Thousands of families made their living from the auto industry and trusted that honest work would provide them with security. But that very promise is now starting to break. New Canadian customs mechanisms and stricter border regulations are blocking the supply chains between Windsor and Detroit. Components are arriving late, orders are falling through, and factories that used to run 3 shifts a day are shutting down entire production lines. Employees are being sent on mandatory leave or are suddenly forced to take night shifts far away. For many, even a short layoff means more than just a smaller paycheck. They simultaneously lose their health insurance and can no longer afford medication or doctor visits. While large corporations continue to receive tax breaks, the workers who built the wealth of these companies for decades are left standing alone. You don't just see the crisis in statistics. You see it in empty factory floors, unfilled pill bottles, and families serving smaller portions at dinner. These people worked, paid their taxes, and believed America would protect them. But now they feel forgotten at the exact moment they need help the most. When Michigan's machines fall silent, it's not just one state that falters, but a crucial part of the American economy. Iowa feeds America. Corn and soy grow in its fields, pigs and cattle are raised on its farms, and entire small towns live by the rhythm of the harvest. But today, more and more of those fields are sitting idle, not because of drought or storms, but because for many farmers, the work simply isn't worth it anymore. Following new Canadian import rules, American meat and other agricultural products were turned away at the border. At the same time, the price of fertilizer, especially potash from Canada, skyrocketed. Slaughterhouses reduced their shifts, warehouses filled up, and farmers were forced to sell their goods before the costs completely crushed them. The first warning signs seem small. A tractor listed for sale online. A farm takes down its for sale sign. A family postpones the next planting because they don't have the money for seed and fertilizer. But behind each of these signs is a business that has often been passed down for generations. What's particularly bitter is that many farmers receive almost no support. While billions flow into technology and large corporations, they are fighting for loans, medical care, and a market where they don't have to sell at a loss. Some banks have already started seizing machinery and land. When a farmer loses his farm, he doesn't just lose his job. He loses his home, his history, and his children's future. Iowa isn't collapsing with a loud bang. It's disappearing field by field, family by family. And if the state that feeds America loses hope, only one question remains. Who will provide for the country tomorrow? Florida is losing its tourists. New York is losing its talent. Texas is struggling with unaffordable power bills despite its energy reserves. In Michigan, the factories are falling silent, while Iowa is losing its farms and, with them, a part of the American food supply. Canada's new laws have increased the pressure, but they have also exposed something that had existed beneath the surface for a long time. Fragile supply chains, rising living costs, overwhelmed hospitals, and a system where ordinary people are increasingly left on their own. This crisis doesn't start with a spectacular collapse. It shows up in an unpaid power bill, an empty medicine cabinet, a shut-down production line, or a tractor a farmer has to sell. Today, it might affect a family in Florida or Michigan. Tomorrow, it could hit millions more. The critical question, therefore, is not just what Canada will do next. The question is whether America can still protect its own citizens before individual cracks become a nationwide fracture. What do you think? Are Canada's decisions the trigger for this crisis, or do the real causes lie within the U.S.? Share your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any important developments.